What do you love? What's on your bucket list? Imagine if you could spend your life doing what you love, and it could just be, this is my life. Don't worry about the details. Don't worry about monetizing it, about the scalability, any of that. You start with the dream.
Hi again, and welcome to Manopause, our Manopod podcast with our special friend and guest, Mark Fournier. Mark Fournier is a three-time Emmy Award-winning filmmaker. He's an author, he's a poet, he's a life coach, and he's been my life coach and friend for over 35 years, reaching almost 40, but we don't want to age ourselves. But the topic today is, with Mark's company, Limitless, is aging magnificently. So Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. And you appear to be aging magnificently as well. I only get to see you every year or two, but whenever I do, it's like, oh man, looking good, brah.
Well, look at Larry. I mean, he doesn't look a day over 49.
Larry, you see, yeah, you're not on the screen.
48.
Give or take. Yeah.
So
it's
what?
So great.
Yeah. Welcome,
but it's mostly
back, Mark.
It's mostly in here, and we're going to talk about that. Physical aging is,
Well, let me start with
ahead.
A quote that sticks with me all the time, and it's from Shawshank Redemption, and
great movie.
It's when one of the characters says, "Well, it's time to get busy living or get busy dying."
I guess it comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah.
And that's always stuck with me when things just seem like, oh, I don't want to do that, or it's too hard. And that quote just kind of sums it up, I think, in terms of, hey, it's your choice. You can either get shit done or not. It's up to you.
Yeah.
So how do you interpret some of that stuff, and how do you look at this aging magnificently kind of concept?
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for asking. I'll start with something that Mike let in with when he said how long we'd been friends, and well, we don't want to give that away. And it starts right off the bat with that statement, which is something that most people would say, well, we don't want to give away our age just yet. And so imagine a life, a culture, a society, a mindset where, yes, you do. First thing I do when I stand on a stage, if I have a room full of millennials and Gen Zs, and I mean, whatever size the audience, these kids are in their 20s and early 30s. And you'd think, based on our typical culture, is I'm going to walk out there and they're going to be like, oh, what the hell's this old dude doing here? He can't relate to us. And they'd be all, hemming and hawing and trying to dress down to, get their side so their hair's buzzed and fluff it up on top so they can try to look like the millennials. I go just the opposite. I walk up there and I smile and I say, I'm 65 years old and you are going to benefit from 40 years of shit that you may never have to go through. And they're like, oh, cool. So the idea of what's there to apologize for, man, I love it. I love what I've been through. And so I just wanted to touch on that, but coming back to the get busy living or get busy dying, it's almost like the idea that you could say nature abhors a vacuum, which now they're disproving, by the way. But there is a fact that change is inevitable. Everything is always changing all the time. Homeostasis is a myth. The idea that something will stay just the same. It's the human brain. We want things to stay. Homeostasis makes change difficult for us because it makes life easy. It's just always going to be the same, but that's an illusion. It's changing. So the question is it changing for the better or for the worse? Get busy living. My life is changing for the better. Get busy dying. Well, I guess I've done what I've come to do, past my prime, and it's time to start packing it in. Now, for some people, that's retirement. And as we all know, there are folks who retire and their life expectancy reduces quickly. There are actuaries building algorithms that count on that. Oh, they retired. Oh, that's going to save us $20,000 in
Right.
interest
Right.
or in insurance fees. And then there are the people like Einstein, who died in bed trying to figure out how he could reconcile his teachings with quantum mechanics and cold fusion, and just died living. Frank Lloyd Wright died at a drafting table, just living. And whether you're getting paid for it or not, that's hardly the issue. In the blue zones, which of course are the areas in the world where people regularly live, centenarians live past 100 healthily. Again, we don't want to live to 120, but we're in a wheelchair since we're 30. So the question is, what is unique about them? One of the most important elements is they live right up until they die. They stay involved in their community. Some of them continue working until they're in their 90s, till they're in their hundreds. But at the very least, even if they're not getting paid, they're an integral part of their tribe, their clan, their little society. They have something to look forward to and something to do, and their lives matter. So I think it's a great question. And get busy dying. Well, that doesn't sound like fun.
There are a lot of people that once they retire, they say, bye, I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm going to sit there and rot.
Yeah.
And you always hear about those people who, once they sit on the couch, they die at an early age.
And
Yeah.
they don't want to retire.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're afraid of.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah.
And the three of us, without any details, chances are none of us actually, we could all retire if we just thought, okay, I'm going to just, stop taking those private jets to Barbados every weekend.
Larry?
I'm not stopping that.
we could retire, but why didn't we? I know you guys are making a fortune on this show, and it
Yes.
and it consumes your every minute. Why are we doing that? It's because we get it. We get it. Get busy living, man. I mean, what I love to teach is that you don't need to do any of this. Our needs are met. It's classic Maslow's theory, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. All of your needs are met: food, shelter, water, oxygen. Almost everyone in certainly Western culture, society in America, food, shelter, water, and oxygen, it's met. So what's the point after that? Well, think of it as it's a game. That's the point. Now we're here to play. We're here to play a game, the game of life. And I want it to be fun. I want it to be exciting. Why do you stop playing tic-tac-toe?
Yeah.
Cliche question.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You can never
It's boring.
win.
It's
Yeah.
not a challenge.
Right.
Yeah. We human beings thrive on challenges. It's what moves us. We keep saying, oh, I want an easier life, but actually we don't. And this idea of get busy living is part of aging magnificently. It's stop apologizing for the years you spent on this planet and start celebrating the trade-offs that you've made. Yeah, maybe I can't jump as high. I don't know that I ever could really stuff a basket. I know I can't today, but the wisdom that I've gained in exchange for the things that I had that may have faded off into the sunset, worth 10 times that. And so we start out by looking at age as it's just another phase instead of it's a worse phase. Being 50 is worse than 40, 60 is worse than 50. That's one way of looking at it, but it doesn't serve us to believe that. So what's the next step?
I think I think it's Joseph Campbell that writes about the quest, right?
Yeah, brilliant,
that
man.
If you don't have and quest could be anything. I mean, you can think of it in terms of fables where you're trying to kill a dragon or whatever it might be. But the whole point of the quest is really
tilting at windmills.
Exactly, more of a dream. It's like, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do? And if you don't have an agenda that includes that, if you look at your life and it's like, well, there's nothing more for me to do or want or accomplish, then your life becomes get busy dying, because as far as you're concerned, it's over. But if
Yeah.
you are constantly coming up with an idea, hey, I want to do this, or I need to achieve that, or I'm after that, that's what keeps you young, keeps you moving forward, and keeps you in the game, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. In fact, if you guys will end up having me back again, I think we should do our next one on
No, we're not.
on the magic. Yeah. I know. But you know, it's my quest. You know, I'm a guy can dream.
That's right.
But I think that we should do the next one on. I've one called the Magic of Moonshots, and it talks about that quest, but not just any old quest. We're not talking about paint the house.
Right.
We're talking about something you know,
new.
the classic quest from, you know, at the point when John F. Kennedy said, we will, you know, put a man on the moon in this decade.
Right.
Yada, yada. At the time he said it, it was impossible. All the engineers are going, what is this guy nuts? We don't have the talent or the people. We don't have the technology. Well, he created it in the ethereal plane of possibility, and then we lived into it. So, but that would be for like the moonshot thing. But I can say, it's been the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor. He recognized while he was, and I think it was Auschwitz, while he was there, people were dropping by like flies, but some of them were surviving and even to a degree thriving. And he, as a clinical psychologist, he was fascinated and started studying them and found there was a pattern. And it's you know, the existential crisis. Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? He found out it doesn't matter what the purpose of life is. Even if there is one, we may not be sentient enough to understand it. But what does matter is what's the purpose of your life. That he found made all the difference in the world. The people who had a purpose, the ones who had a true purpose for surviving, the odds of them surviving the camp went up exponentially. And in fact, the greater the purpose, the greater the odds of survival. And that's why he came back and wrote the book, The Man's Search for Meaning, and developed an entire therapeutic science based on that, helping people find, what am I here for? And how can I make a difference? What's my legacy? And it changes everything. And it changes your brain chemistry. You're a doctor, you know the difference between cortisol and dopamine, and you know, and the thoughts that can bring them about, and how they can be good for your body. Dopamine actually makes us smarter while it's coursing through our veins, more creative, smarter, happier, more energetic. It's a great drug, by the way.
So for the last part of this, to get more granular,
Yeah.
let's say that one of our viewers is listening to this and saying, well, shit, you know, I just retired and I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm depressed and, you know, I don't know what to do. How would you advise? I mean, what, in general terms,
Yeah.
what would you tell a person like that to try and motivate them to realize that they still have a lot of living to do?
Oh, yeah. I love that. You start out by almost like creating a playful environment, almost like you would with a child who is sitting around bored, and you meet with this child. And by the way, I mean, I write all sorts of books. I even write children's books.
Oh,
so
cool.
Oh, nice.
So you start out by having them dream, and you start out with the concept of having no limitations, and you start asking questions like, if you could do anything, I mean, if you were a trillionaire, if you had unlimited resources, and resources, that's more than money, that's money, time, knowledge, it's the people you know, it's everything you have that can help you get what you want. If it was unlimited, and you knew you were going to be on this planet for another 40 years, what would you do? What would you do if you could do anything? And that just opens a floodgate.
Yeah.
As they start playing with it, you say, and oh, by the way, you don't need to be a martyr. You know, martyrs are cool dudes, but they usually end up dead. So I'd rather not be one.
Kind of the definition. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems to be that way. And fortunately for me, for those martyrs who were of a religious bent, I was called to a podium, not a not a pulpit. So hopefully I get to be around a little longer.
That's great.
So yeah, so rather than being a martyr, so you say, what do you love? What do you love? What's on your bucket list? Imagine if you could spend your life doing what you love, and it could just be, this is my life. Don't worry about the details. Don't worry about monetizing it, about the scalability, any of that. You start with the dream. And once they start to get something, that develop a passion for something, start saying, well, whether it's golf or pickleball, like we were talking off camera, or it's traveling the world, it doesn't matter what it is. You start with that. And once you've got it, they start to build that passion, you now reverse engineer it, you deconstruct it. And you start asking, well, how can I do that for a living? How can I, even if you say, well, I don't need the money. Yeah, but you want it to be sustainable. So especially if it's traveling the world and so on, and things that may be more expensive than others. So you still ask, can I monetize it? How can I at least make it self-sustaining? And then you slide to, there's a book, brilliant book called Good to Great, Jim Collins.
I have it right there. Good to Great. Yep.
I love it, Mikey.
Great
It's
book.
such a great book. And I love the whole hedgehog concept. That one part, and the hedgehog is how he describes finding out what it is that your company should be doing. Well, it applies to a person too.
Sure.
And as you know, the hedgehog is when you find the perfect combination of what you love, what you have a natural aptitude for, and what you can, he calls it the economic driver, what you could monetize. And again, even if it's just so that you can afford to keep doing it. And when you have the three overlap, that's your hedgehog. That's the thing that you then go all in, and you play full out for that. And he calls it a hedgehog, by the way, because, and I think it's good for people to get this, because we keep thinking it's got to be something really amazing. We've got to be brilliant at it. Again, doing, guitar riffs at 2 years old and so on. He found out that's not the truth at all. If you go out into a common meadow where there's not a huge mammal predators, the most versatile creature out there is the fox. It's smart. It's like a half cat, half dog. It's fast. It's smart. It climbs. It burrows. It's strategic. And so he's like, that's what everybody wants to be, is the fox. But what's something interesting, something you wouldn't think to be, is a hedgehog. They're kind of homely. Try petting a hedgehog. They're just nothing but thistles. And they're slow. They can't hardly move. They can't hardly climb. They're not very bright. It's like, who wants to be a hedgehog? Long story short, I know. Short story long. The fox decides, I'm hungry. I'm going to go eat that hedgehog because it's slow. It can't climb or run from me, and it's stupid. And so it goes to pounce on the hedgehog. The hedgehog can only do one thing. What is it?
Roll up and release
Roll
it.
up in a ball.
Yeah.
That's all it can do. It has one thing: roll up in a ball. The fox can't eat the damn hedgehog. Every day for a year, it tries to find a way to eat that hedgehog. It tries a different thing every day. It always comes back. Hedgehog just rolls up. So it doesn't do a lot of things, but the one thing it does better than anyone on earth. And so as you're looking at, well, what's my thing? And of course, it doesn't have to be anyone better than anyone on earth, but it's the idea of, these are the things I love. These are the things I have an aptitude for. And of those, these things, I could actually make a living at. I could actually generate revenue. So there's my quickest answer to that question. How does that feel?
No, that's great. That's awesome. But you can develop a passion that you never knew existed at an older age too. Like, for instance, I went to Uganda, I think it was 14 years ago. And it was the first time, and it was a giving back. It was a mission trip. It kind of challenged my client to going with me. And then a couple of other people went with us, and we went across the world to Uganda, into a third world country that was, it was devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a fun trip, or so I thought. It wasn't going to be fun. I'm going to do this for business. I'm going to do this because I can do it. And then we'll go and stop at other places along the way and we'll have a great time, right?
And we get to write it off.
And we get to write it off. Well, I can't even tell you what it did to me. It actually changed my life.
Yeah.
And I had such an incredible time staying in the crummy, dilapidated hotel rooms and no Wi-Fi and uncomfortable beds, if you could call them beds.
Don't
right?
drink the water.
And don't drink the water. And I cannot wait to go back for my fourth time. And we would have gone back. Larry went with me a few years ago, and because of the pandemic, we couldn't go again. But we're going again in March, and this will be my fourth time. And we have it's a passion now for me. I cannot wait. And every time I go, I say, gee, it's probably the last time I'm going to go because it's a long trip and I'm getting a little bit older. And every time I'm there, I cannot wait to go back. I cannot wait to go back because the people are so kind and so genuine and so the salt of the earth, it's where the people began. I mean, it's just an amazing, amazing trip. And the passion of giving back is probably the best thing you could ever do.
And I think that, and that ties into one of the other podcasts that I know we want to do with you about giving and giving back.
Yeah.
And it also ties in here where, your passion and purpose in life doesn't necessarily have to be business oriented.
Right. It could be an application. Sure.
Exactly. And so when we get to that podcast, people will be able to find out other ways to give back, whether it's flying to Uganda or whether it's working at a local soup kitchen, or whatever it might be. It does give life purpose, and having purpose in life helps you live a better life and a longer life. Yeah. So again, Mark, thank you so much for joining us again. And you can go to Mark's website, the limitlesscoach.com, and we'll have a little blurb up there so people can find it and contact him. And then stay tuned for the next podcast because I think it's going to be just as interesting and enlightening as this one. So thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
It's my pleasure. And when they do go to the site, though, you're going to be able to head over to a sub-site, which is which is limitlessaging.com, and get more specific insights and solutions in terms of learning to love and embrace your aging life, and to stop apologizing, but rather say, hey, wait a minute, this is all good, man.
That's
so
awesome.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
Another
Thanks,
great
Mark.
session.
See you next time.
Here.
All right.